All right, good morning, traders. Apologies on the sound today. Literally, as I just went to get this live stream started, I realized my mic isn't working for some reason. So I will have to play with that in between the two live streams. But anyway, for now, hopefully you guys can hear me. Hit me up in the comments if you're having any trouble hearing me. What is there to talk about this morning? Well, yesterday we just kind of had a rotational day. It was an options expiry, a monthly options expiry day, so we often get really condensed grindy days on those days. But we were able to stay above the trend line on the daily. Let's just pull that up real quick. So you can see there was this trend line on the daily that we broke out of, and we just stayed above it yesterday. We closed above it. So that's bullish to see right there for potential continual upside breakout. The overnight inventory was net long, but we've pretty much already got the counter auction. And we're opening with a very small gap here, or maybe no gap if it opens right on the line of yesterday's high. So of course, if we do have a gap, the gap fill is the first thing to target. What happens when we get to yesterday's high? Do we find support? If so, you can go long for continuation higher. If not, and it starts to trade down into yesterday's range, you increase the odds. You got to go down and repair this weak pullback low that we left behind in the M period. Okay. Also keep in mind we have a lot of poor structure above us, so this needs to be repaired, but we also have a lot of poor structure below us, which did not get repaired yesterday. All in all, this seems bullish to me, so I think we're going to get continuation to the upside or more sideways action. I don't think we're going to get any kind of massive pullback, but we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so obviously first things first, that gap got filled. Good morning to everyone in the chat. Thank you guys so much for the good mornings, the GMs. Please hit that like button to support the channel. Let YouTube know we're back to live streaming, and they ought to share the content with others. So once again, the internals, they look bad, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. The overnight inventory was almost entirely net long, so they had to pull down to sort of even things out. So we'll give those a few minutes before we start looking at them for signals. We got good taper on the low here. It doesn't necessarily mean this will be the low of the day, but that if it was, it would be good taper. One thing we really like to see with taper is that it tapers into volume, like this. So you got this little node of overnight volume here. The way we tapered right into that, that's good to see. So it doesn't mean that's the low of the day, but just if it was, it'd be a good one. Miles, how's the new place? So far, so good. Last night was miserable because it was like 1,000,000 degrees, and there's no AC. But I ordered one, so it'll be here tomorrow. Okay, so that high is now acting as resistance, increasing the odds that we need to trade down into yesterday's range. Obviously, tons of support all over the place in here. We got all this volume here. Could act as support. If it fails, you're looking at repairing that weak M period low down here. Let's take another look at that daily chart real quick. So of course now we would assume that this trend line would act as support. We can dip below it during the day. We would just want to close above it on the daily. If we start to pull back down into this range below that trend line, it would be a sign that this was a failure to break out, which would increase the odds that we need to trade down probably to the 20 moving average down here, if not the opposite end of the channel. But obviously it's too early to make that call first thing in the morning. All right, guys, well, the market's being slow, so let's do our good mornings. Rad, good to see you. Welcome. MK is back. Good morning to you. RK Leon, good morning. Sanju is here. Good to see you. Harry's back with us. Partha, good morning to you. Tom, good morning to you. Anis, good morning to you. Jitten, good to see you. Leighton is back. Good morning. Jose, good to see you. Good morning. The Esperanza, good morning to you. Ronald, good morning. Pavel and Arthur, good to see you. Design Knob, good morning to you. Cyworker, good to see you. And Marco. The gang's all here. Ready to make some monies. So certainly no real good signal yet. I think, at least for the way I trade, I'd have to see what happens when we get into this node of volume from yesterday around the POC. If we found support there, I would go long for continuation up. And if it failed, I would go short to repair that weak M period low. But as long as it's kind of grinding around in this range, it could find support anywhere and push back above yesterday's high. So probably not a great opportunity for a trade just yet. Yeah, RK, it's something I endeavor to do. Very thin volume down at these levels. Probably more of these overnight traders. Remember, the overnight was almost entirely net long, so probably more of them just getting squeezed out of their long trades than new money selling piling on. Glad to hear it, MK. This is the way. Ronald says maybe we don't see 22 anyway. Too early to say, my friend. We got to get above yesterday's high. Right now, this just feels like it's a continuation of the counter auction from the overnight inventory. So, like 20 or 30 minutes ago, the market was actually up here, and it's just been kind of selling its way down. So right now, this just feels like a continuation of that. And I'll trust that if we can get back above yesterday's high and then start to bring in volume and continue higher. But until we get above yesterday's high, we might run into the same resistance as earlier and take another push down. So it's still just a little choppy here. No clear signal. Good morning, Cine Matt and David. Welcome, guys. All right, well, we're pushing back above yesterday's high, so let's take a look at the internals. Not a ton of insight in here. The ticks bounced off the zero line. That's bullish. Man, the NQ has such weak structure. But yep, making new all-time highs. Looks a little more bullish than the ES. Okay, ES is back above yesterday's high. So now we'll expect this node of volume here at yesterday's high to act as support if the market pulls back down. There you go. So for example, this is not a trade idea, but you could go long here at the open and just put your stop right below that half back. Because if the market trades back down into this area, it's likely to get further downside continuation. But as long as it finds support in this node that we created early this morning, we're probably going to head up and start repairing some of these weak references above. So once again, this node should hold as support here at the halfback. If we break below that again, we're likely going to get further downside continuation. Seven seven seven. If I get 50 likes, will I stay all day? No, I'll switch to the private room. Yeah, Marco, my mic isn't working, so I'm using the mic in my MacBook today. I'll try to get it fixed between the two streams when I switch over. I literally just realized as I was about to start live streaming that it wasn't working. Arthur, it's funny, overnight ES went higher, then as the market opens, it goes down. Yep, we call that the counter auction. So remember, overnight traders are different than us. Um, you know, we're trading the regular trading hours. So we're making a guess of what the market is going to do during the day today. Whereas overnight traders are often trying to position themselves for what we are going to do the next day, right? So they obviously, you can tell from the fact that the overnight opened down here and went only 2 ticks lower and then went straight up. They were obviously bullish. They thought the market was going to continue higher. So then as the market starts to trade down and down and down, they start to panic out of their trades, which is why I think this little tail, this little buying tail that we have down here, this was, these people getting squeezed, these longs in here, kind of giving up on their trade. So yeah, it's very common that in the first 30 minutes of the day, the market kind of moves in the opposite direction of the overnight, because they're just like, essentially they were hoping that we were going to gap higher and get a gap and go, right? That's what they were looking at. If you watched the market like 10, 15 minutes before it opened, it was up in here. So they were hoping we were going to get a gap and go and just trade higher and make new all-time highs. But then the market pulled down to just above yesterday's high and then started to pull into yesterday's range. So they kind of all get scared and just exit their trades. So that's what causes that. No, I got a bit of a sore throat, not in a singing mood. All right, well, that to me is bearish, getting back below that halfback. So like I said, there's going to be some support in here in this node of volume. If that breaks, you're almost certainly going to need to repair the weak M pullback low. Okay, so we got some thin volume in here that needs to be backfilled. We're also just stepping into this support. We also have that 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. Could act as support here. If these things break, if this breaks and that breaks, this becomes the target. Kwaku, good morning to you. No, you can't. That's why this right here, mine's a Mac, and I have to use a virtual PC. So the one I use is called Parallels. Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't overthink about this big tick. I think that was just because that like report came out, so it was probably just algorithms giving it a quick push higher. But now it's just a matter of support and resistance, right? As always, this area here acted as resistance, pushed the market down, pushed the market up, acted as support, broke through, pushed the market down. So we just want to either get above this or we get continuation to the downside. Same exact thing as yesterday when the B period is inside the A period. It's just a sign of uncertainty. It's a sign of rotation. So until the B period breaks one direction or another and starts one time framing, market's likely to just keep grinding around. Yeah, it's not unreasonable, Miles. You know, balance leads to excess, excess leads to balance. We had an insane amount of excess that pushed us up here. Look at all these weak references, multiple, P-shape profiles, multiple gaps left behind. We got that gap, and we got the gap down here as well. So when the market makes that violent of a move higher, it often needs to spend some time balancing it off. So rotation makes sense here. It's my pleasure, Ronald. Jeff, that is terrible to hear. My grandma had that as well. It is a fucking miserable disease. Okay, so right now, the ticks on the NASDAQ are trending up, but if we get that big red tick that breaks this uptrend, that could lead to a pullback. Otherwise, further rotation. Super boring market this morning. Shubo, you don't have to apologize. You come whenever you'd like. Yeah, I don't see this as having anything to do with the time of year or anything like that. It's just uncertainty. We literally talked about this yesterday as well. When you get the B period inside the A period, that's the signal that the traders, they don't know where the market's going to go. So why take a position if you don't know where the market's going to go, right? So the people that are trading here, this is just, inexperienced, weak hands traders picking each other's pockets, trading against algorithms. But the bigger players, they're not going to take a position until they know what the market's going to do. Like I said, we had an insane amount of excess getting us up here. Like, the structure is just terrible getting ourselves up to this level. So I could see us spending an entire week bouncing around in here before we move higher or lower. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying, like, nobody knows what's going on anymore. So the bigger players are going to be much more cautious. One trade that's worth keeping in mind is if we print the C period and the B period is still inside the A period like this, whichever direction the C period breaks, you can often go with a trade in that direction. So let's just expand out yesterday's profile. And you can see the C period broke the B period to the upside, and then you got continuation to the upside. Didn't go very far, but if you took the long trade here, you could have taken profits up in here. Certainly something to keep in mind. Yeah, we had a poor high, but of course it's repaired by today's market. Marco, yeah, that B period high is weak. I wouldn't call it very weak, but I would say it's weak. We can mark that. But all in all, like I said, there's just no leadership yet. This is what the market does. It grinds and grinds and grinds and just chews up people's accounts until it's ready to go somewhere. We'll know where it's going to go depending on which direction it breaks from the B period. Does it break the B period high or the B period low? And there's lots of weak references above that need repair and lots of weak references below that need repair, right? So it could go either way. Best to just stay neutral. Don't worry about it. There'll be lots of opportunities to trade throughout the day. You don't have to get in one in the first hour. All right, well, guys, I'm going to call it quits here for the day on the public live stream. If you're a member of the Brigade, give me a bit of time here because I'm going to try to troubleshoot my mic problems before I go live on that live stream. So it might take me a few minutes, but I'll post in the Discord when the link is ready. And I shall see you all very soon. Thank you, guys, and I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow morning. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.